So, welcome once again to Raising the Consciousness of Humanity, where we dive into topics of spirituality, metaphysics, channeling, and so much more. Everything that is positive, especially for this day and age that we're in. And before I introduce today's guest, I would truly love it if you could like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend because we're going to be sharing a lot of great wisdom and knowledge and absolutely a very powerful message I feel today. So I want to introduce our guest. His name is JOA White Eagle. We met just a little while ago at the annual Shine event in Sarasota, Florida. That's part of the Center for Spiritual Living community here. And it was just absolutely wonderful meeting you, Joa. I felt, you had this vibe of a very spiritually grounded person. Felt instantly like a friend, and yeah. And so I'll share a little bit because I want to get your story. But I know you shared with me a little bit about having a near-death experience when you were younger, visiting Mount Shasta. You started a university, I believe it was called the I Am University. Now I think it's like the Spiritual Leadership Academy. So
Yes.
so much of that I felt was really important just to get you on a podcast. You've written a book. You're now initiating peace walks all over the place with communities and stuff. So I'm so grateful to have you. And knowing that you're a channel, and I believe you channel Saint Germain and also Jesus. So hopefully later in this podcast, we can get you to channel as well. I think our community would really love to get some channeling and a deeper message if you're up to that.
Yeah, I would love to.
Awesome. Awesome. And we shared a little bit about the topics, talking about the peace walk, spiritual psychology, life transformation. And I really want to just start so that everybody gets to know you. Tell us about your journey. I mean, you obviously must have had something along your life path that kind of woke you up to to spirituality in general.
Yeah, so I want to start off with the truth. I believe that we're all on this line starseed, which means that we came here to jumpstart humanity, and that humanity was going to be lost, and so there was a great call to bring in souls from other star systems. And so I am one, and you are, and we all are, probably everyone on this call. I believe it's over 1 billion now people on the planet are starseed, and those are waking up the fastest. Not all of them have woken up yet, and and the reason I'm sharing that is because when I was born into the world, I think a lot of starseed can relate to this. Our biggest service is just surviving our family, and so I came into kind of a hellacious situation. My mother was just doing what Dr. Spock recommends for children, and she already had a child before, and it was so painful, and so she decided she'd be under anesthesia, and so I had no one to welcome me when I came in the world. So I've had so much work to do to heal the trauma that I went through in this childhood, and when I was in my teens, all that trauma was coming up, and I had no idea. It was like I was unconscious of it, and I was doing what's called living in the fast lane. I was just, there's got to be some happiness out there somewhere. So just like, rushing for happiness, and I crashed my motorcycle and had a near-death experience, and shattered bones all in the middle part of my body, and hurt organs, and when I woke up on the pavement, this hippie was holding my hand, and it wasn't until years later that when I started channeling. In fact, I asked, I channel, and I channel Jesus sometimes, and one time I was complaining that, because I've lived in Mount Shasta, this powerful spiritual vortex, and all these spiritual people go there, and it's a spiritual hangout, and a number of my spiritual friends have had real darshan experiences with angels and masters that really showed up in front of them, or extraterrestrials, and I was complaining that I never had such an experience. And Sananda spoke to me, and Sananda is the name he prefers to go by in his galactic self. And so Jesus, or Sananda, spoke to me and laughed, and he said, "Who held your hand when you were on the pavement from the motorcycle wreck?" And
Oh, wow.
and I just like cried on the spot. It's like, oh my God, it took me that many decades to wake up and realize that was him. And of course it was, because his energy was so humble and so clear and so loving, like endless unconditional love and peaceful. And so then I had to lay on my back for 3 long months, 90 days. And that was a long time for a teenager, and I was a wild teenager, and with hormones and all that, and all my friends are out there having fun, and but something strange happened after all the pain went away. I started cracking jokes and just being in the now, and that's what it was. I just started getting happy in the now. I just started enjoying where I am and being in my own body, and so after that, for 2 years almost, I had what I call the Midas touch. It seemed like everything I did turned to gold. I won awards in creativity, ceramics, photography, and writing, and then my grades shot up, and I fell in love with this professional model girlfriend, absolute gorgeous woman. And so everything was going my way, so to speak, and I didn't really understand it at the time. It was like my unconscious awakening the first time, and because I was just in the now. I was so happy to be here. Just to be alive was enough. And so then there was not all that expectation in the way, and so that's when magic happens. And but then she dumped me eventually, and then I crashed, and so I had a lot to learn. And so that was my first awakening experience, which I call it my sort of unconscious awakening.
Yeah.
And and then I had another awakening later, and this is when the ending of my first marriage, and so I was about 28 years old, and my healing work with my son, which was 2 years old, was misunderstood by my mother, and she had a very big food issue, very overweight, and she judged me as starving my son, which I never did. I fed him all the vegetable juice he could drink, but I was cleansing his body. He had a great healing, but my mother turned my wife against me and my sister against me, and I was ostracized by my whole family. And so this was an initiation, and this is what happens to starseed. And real initiations, the false initiations that they are about belonging and giving your power away to some organization, that's the false. The real initiation is just the opposite. You're giving up your attachment to approval of others, especially family, and to find out who you are. And so that was devastating, to lose their love. And I was so depressed I couldn't work. And a friend of mine offered me a place to stay at a Buddhist temple. In fact, I was the caretaker of a Buddhist temple in the forest on Bainbridge Island, Washington. And
Wow.
it was out of Japan, this temple. And we would sing Nam-myoho Renge Kyo once every Sunday. And anyway, I was there in that temple, and at first I was just there to die. It's like my ego had to die is what it was. But over time, I started connecting more, and then I met a spiritual teacher who was amazing and very unknown, and she channeled my spirit guides to me. And the love of our spirit guides is beyond the beyond. They're walking with you every single day, there for you. And that kind of love, it's hard to imagine. And when she channeled them to me, I could really feel them as they're talking to me through her. And I just cried and cried and cried to feel that love, to realize that it's really real, that there is that much love. And after what I'd been through, and then she encouraged me to do spiritual readings, and that I had a knack for tarot card reading, and I became a really good tarot card reader, which I still do. And I was in magazines, all with the New Age Journal and the East West Journal, all these different magazines, and I gave readings to people all over the place. Meanwhile, I was grounding myself too, gardening and landscaping, because I'm a triple Aquarian. And that's the challenge, is I got to really be grounded. I do have a Capricorn rising, thank goodness, and so I'm here on a mission. Hearing you say that I was grounded, that was music to my ears, because that's been a big challenge in my life, to really be grounded. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I imagine it's probably true for a lot of star seeds,
yeah,
right?
very much, very, very much.
And
Yeah.
and would you say that, like, you ended up, of all places, a Buddhist temple? I mean, I think maybe your soul chose that to have that,
Oh
because
yeah,
in the
or our soul
meantime,
chooses everything. Yeah, all
yeah,
the big stuff, the
yeah,
soul chooses. Yes, and
yeah,
so
in the meet your
I was
meet.
going to be a Buddhist later. I was going to shave my head and be a Buddhist monk. I was into Jack Cornfield, and I almost did it. And I flew all the way to England to go
Oh
that
wow.
path, and then I realized it's just too old for me. It was not present for me, even though it's
Mm,
about being present. And and I ended up going to the Findhorn Foundation, which is one of the first New Age centers in the world, and that felt like more of my kind of style. And then most of the teachers at Findhorn were coming out of California, which is where I was from, and I realized I was homesick, So I went back to California, where so much of this is going on. The new energy,
yeah.
so much is coming out of there.
And the Findhorn. Okay, so was that before you went to Mount Shasta? When did that?
Yes, yeah, it was quite a bit before. I went through a number of stages. I've had gurus, and I've studied many different paths, and I love Native American. I've poured Sweat Lodge, and done a number of vision quests, led them, and at Mount Shasta mainly, and so I love God is in everywhere in all religions,
Mm,
and it's about love, and I was fortunate to gone to different churches when I was young too, because my family is very broken. That's the challenge with me, is that I was born into 10 divorces in my extended family. So my family, it was all about burn the bridge, So we were that kind of people, and so I've made it a point in this lifetime to really learn what true love is, and
mm.
and so especially after my third marriage ended, we were married 10 years. We still love each other as dear friends, and but then now I've really gotten really adamant about what is true love, to really study that, and so I have more to share about that later if you'd like, and so then the third big awakening was at Mount Shasta, and that's when I began channeling. I walked into a room full of seasoned veteran channelers, and I was the young guy on the block. I walked in and like a rookie, I guess you could say, and they said, "We're all going to channel," and I didn't even plan on going there. My van just drove me there. I was planning on going somewhere else, and so here I am with these powerful healers, and they said, "We're going to channel now. We're going to take turns." So they just come over, and they're going to get to me, and I'm just like kind of a wild guy. I just say, "Yeah, why not? I'll just channel." And I was kind of, kidding myself, like fake. I'll just fake it, whatever. And well, that's all you got to do, is say yes and watch out. So then when it came my turn, my body got hot, and
Mm.
and I just got I'm off and running. I've got to talk, and I got to say all these things. And most of the things I said were things that could be validated, that came true in the following week or two.
Oh
And
wow.
so that was another thing. But still, after that happened, um, for the next day or two or three, I just doubted the whole thing. I thought, did I just make all that up? I mean, and I was my doubt was getting deeper and deeper, and so I was just thinking, oh, it's just bullshit. And so about 3 days, I'm pretty much in that space of I don't know what happened, and so then I was in our grocery store, Berryville grocery store, and to where everybody goes, and I was walking out of that grocery store, and this sweet old lady comes walking up to me, and she says hi, and I go hello, and she says, I hear the angels, they speak to me. I go okay, and they have a message for you, and I said okay, and she said, you were just given a wonderful gift, and you have another one coming, and she walked right off, and that was it. Never saw her again.
Oh, wow. So the wonderful gift was, okay, take me a little bit. So the wonderful gift was the channeling, but then another one coming. What was the other one coming?
Exactly. And so a few days later, maybe 3 days later, I gave spiritual readings to people at Stewart Mineral Springs, and that was my hangout. And normally I got to wait, sometimes an hour or so before somebody will come to me to get a reading. I set up, and people are walking by, but that channeling that I gave was about that the 12 of us were embodying angels for the next 2 weeks, and I was different because I would get there and people were in line for me, and they were in line for me every day, and it had never happened before or afterwards. And during that 2 weeks, people were all waiting and in line for me. There was more energy running in my body. And anyway, I gave a reading to this one lady, and it was the theme. She came from the city, and she was kind of doubting the reading too. She asked me, "Why am I crying?" And I said, "Well, you can call these the tears of Christ. When you come home to who you really are, and to that love, that light, and it's so beautiful. And then the dross of the human dross that you've been holding on to for years has to come out of you, and it's just this grief starts coming out of you." And so that was the theme of the reading. And then at the end of the reading, she said, "So now tell me what the puddle's about, what the water is about." And I looked down at the table because I was in the reading. I didn't even notice. But we were in August in Mount Shasta. It just doesn't rain for months. And there was nothing on that table before. And this puddle had developed on the table, and water was just dropping on her body. And
Oh,
and I
wow.
was so stoned I didn't even think to scoop up that water. It'd be holy water, right? I just
Yeah.
it just it didn't occur to me. And
Wow.
so that was the second thing, I'm sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
a little miracle for
Wow.
her. She needed that something more, to really get it. Yeah,
Yeah. Some sort of validation or, yeah.
something real tangible. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes people really need that. People are less awake. They get like I was really not awake when I had the motorcycle wreck,
Yep.
and then there was Jesus right there. They often show up when you need a real wake up. You need really to see the truth. But once you're more awake, they don't want to spoil you. You got to connect in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's a
not
good
make
point.
it not make it about another person. Yeah.
That's a very, very good point, Joa, because you're right. If that's the way, the continuous way, we become relying on the outer authority, whatever that outer authority is.
Yeah, in spiritual psychology, it's called positive projection. And
Yep.
positive projection is just as bad as negative projection. Negative projection, of course, we see it all the time. They're messed up, and that makes you feel good about yourself, better about yourself temporarily. But
Yeah.
over the long term, actually, you're lowering your vibration by to focusing on who's so messed up, who's judging others. But the
Yep.
positive projection is just as bad, because when you make somebody on a pedestal, whether it's a soulmate or a guru, and you're making them great, and you're making yourself small. So
Yeah.
you're making yourself into a child, and then what will happen often is you finally wake up that you're out of energy, you're not empowered, They didn't empower me. So you get angry and you get jealous. And so jealousy is an extreme form of positive projection. So,
Mm,
so that's, those are all pitfalls when we go out of balance. Yeah.
yeah. Now, going back to when you said you were in that group and you were there, your van kind of took you to this,
Yeah.
this
So then I was
where everybody
channeling.
was channeling, and you said yes to it. And then you mentioned where at first you doubted yourself, but then later you had validation of maybe things coming true or whatever. Because I've heard that before with other people who, when they first start channeling, that and even myself, it's like you start to question, is that just out of my imagination? But then somehow something connects the dots to, I guess, validating what you either um, spoke or saw or shared in that moment. Can you share a little bit more about that initial experience with?
I what I'm guided to say, I think for the listeners, I think they'll appreciate this, is we want to make channeling as like, wow, channeling,
Yeah.
but it's really knowing the power of spirit and is the real power. And
Mm,
I've done firewalking 7 times when I was younger, and
okay.
I learned from Tully Birkin, who taught Anthony Robbins, and
Yeah.
um, and it was really that way. I kind of experienced the whole perspective. I've been burned, and I've also did it perfectly, and every time I got a little burned, um, I was more into fear. I was more into my human, identified to the human side of myself. And each time I did it perfectly, I was in the knowing that I am this love, this greater
Mm,
power. That's what I really am, and I'm bringing it into my body. So I'm bringing it into my body. When I first started firewalking, I was kind of out of body, and that didn't work so well either. I got a hot spot. I'm up here, up in the love, but but that didn't work so well. But when I watched this one woman who was like a tank, she just walked through those coals, and it was a long firewalk, and I really vibe with her. It's like, oh, she's really down in her body. And she said, I'm one with the fire. That was what she said. I like that. So I said, I'm one with the fire. And I could feel the heat of the fire, but it didn't burn me. So I could feel
mm.
the texture of the coals even, but it wasn't burning me. And then I just feel like now I know I am the victory. It's like, that's what I am. And then I walked that 1 week, that one fire walk. I said, I can walk on fire and I can make money, because money has been in the past my biggest issue, and I made more money that following week than I ever made before in my life. So I transformed those thoughts right there on the spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speak more to that. The fact that you related that to your own personal state of abundance.
Yes. Yeah. So, well, we have our life is abundant as we choose it to be. So it's that simple. And Um, I've not valued money, and so then I haven't had money.
Mm,
So when I finally chose to value money, I've had all these Native American past lives, and I've also been a thief in a few of my past lives. So, and some of those Native American, some of them not. Anyway, I've had a hatred towards money. I came in with that hatred. So, and then part of my family was very wealthy, and it just made me cringe. The golf courses and all that, the old style money, world. It just had no interest in it, except there was some desire to want to steal. So I went through a little bit of that in my teenage years, and then had to let it go. And so that's where that came from. Those past lives. I was kind of the idea of Robin Hood. I'm going to steal from the rich and
yeah.
get to the poor. And so that whole idea, but it's really a sham. It's
Yeah.
really a lie. It's really a lie. So,
So,
so
Joa, speak more to, because a lot of listeners right now are, in the audience are probably thinking like, okay, that's my biggest challenge. and they might be like, oh, how do I, go from walking on hot coals to suddenly winning in the game of abundance? But that's,
Yes, and I'll speak to it totally. Birkin actually took groups of people, same the firewalking teacher, to Las Vegas, and then got them into abundance consciousness, and then they run the slot machines, and they would make a bunch of money. So,
wow.
so a whole bunch of money would come in. It all responds to consciousness. So that's the bottom line. Is you really got to get it's all about consciousness, and so waking up is realizing we are really always living from the inside out, whether you know it or not. And every time you say I'm without, then you're without. The universe has to follow that. So it's about really watching your mind, where you're going around money and abundance. It's much more than money. It's about abundance. And
Yeah.
what's really cool is that now finally it's downloading the divine feminine energy is downloading finally for the first time in thousands of years. Began around 2015 or so. The goddess finally came above ground. She'd been underground for thousands of years because it was too dangerous to come out. And but the reason I'm sharing that is that the feminine way of attracting money is so much easier, and you don't have to work hard. You really don't. And so it's just giving yourself permission to receive and choose it and know it's true. And and let go of all the stories you got going on that you got to work harder and let it go. And
Yeah.
and just know that you deserve, you're worthy. We are all worthy of this great abundance. See, this is the deal. We are spiritual beings that are, amazing. And we're not human beings trying to have a human experience. We are spiritual beings, wonderful souls, here to transform our human experience. And when you know who you are, that you're not a human, you are a spiritual being that has connection to infinite power, love, wisdom, and then you set about creating your ideal life and cleaning house, getting rid of all these spells, all these beliefs that you took on that are negative are spells, and you bought into them, you believed them, and so you've got to let them see them for what they are and realize the insanity of them and where they're going to take you. And then once you see the insanity of it all, you let it go on the spot. You've already let it go. It's no
Yeah.
more work than that. As long as you see how crazy it is and where it's going to take you, and then you make that next choice about what you really desire and choose it, that's it. And let it go. Give it up to spirit. And
Yeah.
then watch. So, because what happens is we think we have to control the outer world. The outer world's the real world. No, it's not. The outer world's the illusion. The inner world's the real world. And so we've got to believe in this inner world and enjoy this inner world. You connect with your higher self, your authentic self, through your imagination. Your imagination is your connection, so to your higher self. So, and the rational mind says, I don't know, okay. That's the human. So we got to blow the mind a lot. So, and choose beyond the mind what you really desire. Choose it for yourself, and then give it up. Let it go. Don't have to control anybody. Nothing to control. And it comes to you. Everything comes to you. It all comes to you. You don't have to go out. Let go of the hunter mentality. Let it come to you.
Nice. Yeah, I like what you said, the differential between the masculine wanting to control or work hard and the feminine being the allowing, the receiving and the allowing. Yeah, and it just reminds me of the Mary Morrissey. I don't know if you've ever listened to her, but
Oh yeah, I love her.
yeah, that when she was selling her house, what if it, was just took one, and what if it was easy? And so yeah, what you shared really speaks to that. What if it's easy? What if it just surrender to it, right? So beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's so many men, including myself in the past, that have been suffering because we've been taught that our self-esteem is based upon what we do and how much we do. and how much money we make and all that. And so I had to go without money very seriously, and a few times to finally get that I'm lovable. No matter, it has nothing to do with how much money I have. And because see, what kept me down was the judgment around not having money. So now, we're about to go through some big fluctuations on the planet, and so this is. I'm glad people are listening to this, because when you go through a fluctuation of less money or less food or whatever it is, and it has nothing to do with your value. Your value is infinitely valuable, and when you really get that, then you feel deserving to have what you need, and then you choose it, and you really put your foot down too. We don't get what we desire; we get what we tolerate. So when your situation is getting intolerable, you put your foot down. You say, "Enough is enough. I choose this," and that's when the universe responds.
Nice. Yeah. So would we get not what we desire or whatever, we get what we tolerate or not tolerate, right?
Well, we don't, we desire, we have all these desires, but
Yeah.
often we don't get what we desire. We get what we tolerate. So,
Nice.
so we get, that bottom line is what we get. So there's like a bottom line expectation of what we think we're going to get. That's what we get. And that's what we call what we tolerate. So, and then you raise your standard of living by say, I'm enough of that. I will not tolerate. My sister was amazing. She went through a little period, a big crisis, and she was homeless, but she had have like her last $100 and or whatever, and she would still go into a hotel, and she had a very high standard, and somehow it just kept working out that she could stay in hotels because she had a high standard. And then eventually she won a court case, and she's been doing great ever since. So she has a high standard, and it's really up to you what your standard of living is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I would say people that we come, whether it's on a subject of abundance, personal relationship, or love, or whatever it might be, a person's standard, whether conscious or subconscious, is somewhat guiding the way. Even if they have a difficult moment that they're going through, somehow that reset or whatever that guiding post within their life is dive. Yeah, I appreciate that. What we tolerate. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a wake up call to hear that from some of the teachers that are teaching about abundance these days. So so I would like to share my, when I went through this going to Mount Shasta, and wow, what a powerful spiritual vortex Mount Shasta is. Have you been there?
No, and I'm sure many of our viewers haven't been. So, I mean, yeah, share as much as you can, because I would say there's probably a lot of curiosity. Where is
Well,
Mount Shasta?
we're
Tell us.
so
Yeah.
we're so fortunate to have such a pure and powerful spiritual vortex as Mount Shasta. So you probably heard Sedona. That's another area, and that's sort of like well, it can be a little bit like a three-wing circus. There's a lot going on there, and that's okay. That's what it is. So there's a lot more of abundance happening on all levels, money, everything, and but it's not as pure. So you go to Mount Shasta, and there's this pure spiritual, beautiful energy, and it's actually the violet flame. So what is that? So can I share about what that is?
Please do.
So as we awaken, we start working with what's called sacred fire. So, and there are 7 rays of the white light. We are made of white light, and it divides into 7 rays. And then we can call them into flames. And you simply do this with your imagination. It's that simple. And each ray and flame have a different purpose. So, for example, the blue flame is the masculine energy. So, and like Archangel Michael, we think of that, and then there's the rose pink flame, which is the feminine. So, then the violet flame is, if you put those together. So, and that's what's so cool about the violet flame. It is the ray of our new age. And I believe if we could name one thing that is causing the purification on our planet more than anything else, it would, from my point of view, it would be the violet flame. So where the planet's being saturated with violet flame, and and the mountains are carriers of the flame. They hold a lot of, and especially Mount Shasta. You go there and you're going to get purified. So, and that's why there's not much business there. There's never been a lot of people there. So it's very powerful, and it's where people go to grow, to wake up. And so anyway, I went to Mount Shasta and lived there overall a total of 21 years, and I gave spiritual tours there, and it's just a wonderful waterfalls. It's just a wonderful place, and then I was on the mountain and Saint Germain, and Saint Germain is an ascended master. Do you think your people know what that means, ascended master?
Yes.
So,
yeah, I
okay.
think so. Yeah.
Okay, good. So he's one of the ascended masters, and he came to me and he asked me to start the I Am University, and I was just camping on the mountain, no money, and in a tent, and I kept asking him over and over, "Are you sure you really want me to start this university?" I must have asked him 5 times. And I kept getting a yes, yes, yes. Okay, how in the world am I going to come up with the money to start a college, university? And he said to start a taxi business. So I had a good car, and I'd driven taxi before, so I knew something about that business. I go, that's a cool idea, but still I've got to come up with the money to capitalize that business. I got to get through a Mount Shasta winter. It's going to take a while. And he said somebody would give me money. And so I was in a tent on Mount Shasta for August, September, October, November, and into December, and it was very cold. We haven't had a snow yet, but it wasn't long till we were going to have a snow, and so then I had to cry. It's like, where is this money? And I never had the guts to ask anybody for money. And didn't really hear a response, but I had the cry, but the next day I gave a lady a ride to the airport, and I given her spiritual readings, so we had a good connection. And then I got prompted. Something prompted me to ask her, to tell her about the university, and that I'm looking for funding for it. And I only had to say a couple of sentences about it. And she just literally pulled 3 gold coins out of her purse on the spot. It was like a fairy tale. And
Wow.
I just couldn't believe it. In fact, I was so ungrounded to receive those 3. I dropped one of them in the bank, and the cleaning woman found it that night. I was so not ready to, not believing I could have, that money. It was pretty wild.
You mean you dropped actually one of them while you were in the bank?
Yeah.
And you got it back too, though.
I got it back. Yeah, I gave her flowers for saving my gold coin, and at that time that was $5,000. Nowadays that would have been a lot more money, but anyway, and another $5,000 came another way unexpectedly, and so that got me through the winter. And then I had a very successful taxi business, and it went for 5 years, and I sold it. But during that taxi business, I started the university, and we had classes, and we've been going for 14 years. So, and I recently changed the name to the Spiritual Leadership Academy, but it's very based in the I Am wisdom, which is basically you are Source, you are Great Spirit, God, whatever you word you want to use for it. That's the true self. And as you focus on that energy, in fact, the heart flame in the heart grows more and more, larger and larger, and your circle of influence affects more and more around you. And yeah, yeah.
Wow. And how many students? I mean, you probably helped a lot of people just through that university. And is the university still going on right now or
It is. And I got small amount, I've been operating with a small number of students,
yep.
and I've had ego patterns to deal with. So, being a teacher, being attached to the teacher, and and the old role of teacher, and I've had to let go of what that was. And so I've had a lot of learning along the way. And so I feel like I'm in a much better place about it. So I had a large venue. We had events and kirtans and all this in Mount Shasta. It was beautiful, and we had our classes there. But most of our students were online, and then eventually a corporation bought that building. I had to get rid of everything, and let go of a relationship, and it was all to go to a deeper level of connection to myself, and so I moved to Mexico and did a lot of healing. Thought I'd live in Mexico the rest of my life, and it's so much fun down there. It's so beautiful and happy. People are connected, and I'm so glad to be out of the United States. It's so caught in division, and I'm feeling kind of smug about that. And then Spirit said, "Nope, you're going back to the United States," and I didn't know why. And so I bought a friend's RV in Arizona, and drove all the way to Florida, not knowing why the whole time. And then I saw the monks,
Mm.
the Buddhist monks, and
Buddhist monks that were walking? The
yes, walking for peace
yeah.
from Fort Worth, Texas, to Washington D.C., and they really touched me.
Yeah.
And and right about that time, right after that, is when our bombs, killed 170 children.
Mm.
And I just couldn't stop crying for 3 days, and over that, um, and then it just came together for me. The monks gave me hope, but they're not going to save us. What if the people started peace walking? What if we, the people, walk for peace?
Yeah.
So that came, that idea, and so that's what I came. That's why I came to the United States, and it makes it so livable now for me. So
Yeah.
I'm in my RV in parking lots. It doesn't matter, and I love doing my mission. Of bringing peace walk to getting people to do peace walks, and I so enjoyed doing our peace walk at the Center for Spiritual Living there here in Sarasota with you, and that was such a special walk that we just did, and I'm so charged to do a lot more peace walks.
Yeah, Joe, I can sense that in you. It's like when you share your story about, oh, I thought I was going to be in Mexico for the rest of my life, and then somehow I'm back, and then you connected with the monks, and something lit up in you. And I would remember listening to another person that very similar story. I didn't want to go back to the United States, and somehow she received the message like, well, that's where your light needs to shine.
Mm.
And it makes sense because where your light really shines, especially when you were with us, and I think it's more than just the walking; it's the embodiment of peace within. You know, the breathing, everything that you kind of guided and taught us. And wouldn't that be wonderful if every community that got inspired to do that throughout the United States or throughout the world? I mean, that would be hugely transformative in so many ways.
My goal is that I'll have at least 1,000 peace walkers. And when I say that, walking every day, 1 mile a day.
Yeah.
So is that so hard? 1 mile? I don't think so. Not for most people. I love it. I'm now at I guess I'm about 80 miles now, something like 80 days I've been doing this.
Oh, wow.
And as soon as I have 100 days, I'm going to have a T-shirt for I walked 100 miles for peace,
I
and
love that.
and then I'll be making these available to people that by the time they made 100 days, they'll have a T-shirt that says I walked 100 miles for peace. So yeah, yeah,
That's powerful. That's kind of gives you some sort of I like that because it gives you some sort of initiative to get to
yeah,
that 100 days, right?
yeah.
That's a
And it's
commitment.
not hard. It's not
Yeah.
hard. And people that walk every day live 7 to 15 years longer than those who don't walk every day. So,
Yeah.
and I think Peace Walk would probably extend it even more because we're getting into a flow state. We're getting into um, really learning how to do that and with our breath.
Yeah, and share a little bit more about flow state because I know so many people that identify when when things are synchronicities happening, right? Like things we're in joy or gratitude or presence or whatever. That flow state is so important. So share a little bit more about how people do that with the walk.
Yeah. Well, first of all, flow state is what came with divine feminine energy returning to the planet. And that's, women are much better at flow state. They can shift on a dime. They have to with the children and everything going crazy. And so it's about going with the flow of life is one part of flow state. And so, and then there's more to it. And the inhale and the exhale have opposite effects on the nervous system. The inhale stimulates, the exhale relaxes. So we do a longer exhale. And then a real big key here is that we relax the belly on the in-breath. So we allow the soul to energize the in-breath, and it does. When you relax the belly, then it just automatically, the in-breath comes in. And there's a whole consciousness shift here. So I won't go into it deeply here, but most people breathe what I call the breath of fear, and especially people in our modern culture, and because of unnatural childbirth procedures, and then trauma experiences, one after another for young infants and children, especially boys too, and so boys are expected to be independent way too early, and it has a whole backlash effect. So anyway, so we've had this. I didn't feel safe to breathe. What I went through with not having a bonding with my mother and early on, and so and other trauma experiences, I didn't feel safe to breathe, and so I was a poor breather, and I had asthma and colitis for years, and then when I learned this way of breathing, it all healed. And so I learned from Ian Jackson, who taught this way of breathing called breath play, and he taught it to athletes, and they became great athletes, and some of them became the greatest athletes, like John Howard, and won triathlons and marathons and bicycling and all that. Anyway, so what I'm teaching here is what happens is when you do breath play is you go into flow state pretty quickly. And by doing a longer exhale and relaxation on the belly and the in-breath, and then you stay focused. Another aspect of flow state is you need to stay focused on one thing, not let your mind keep going all over the place. And and you're willing to pivot if you need to. So that's what flow's about. And but you're following something interesting. And what gets us breathing? That's a good question. What gets us breathing? It's a trick question. Some say exercise, some say whatever. And in back of that is excitement. What you're excited about, what you want in your life, what you really want, your highest excitement. This gets you breathing. You meet your soulmate. If you don't freak out, and you need to breathe. You need to be alive. You need to show up. And so that's what gets you breathing. And so that's another aspect of the of being in flow state is that you're focusing on your highest excitement, and you're also aware of your breath, and you just longer exhale, and it drops you into a deeper state beyond the beta. When you're in the beta range, the normal range, that's the critical mind, and it's going to tell you stuff why you can't, all that critical stuff. But as soon as you drop into alpha, you're feeling more relaxed, and then even deeper is the theta when it gets more dreamy. And this is all possible while you're walking, or exercising. And I know you experience this on a bicycle too, on these long bicycle treks. Can you relate to it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That definitely just the entire experience of even being in the heart, So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And when we're talking a lot, so I'm in flow state real easily because I'm focused and I'm talking a lot. That is the active exhale. That's it. So when you're expressing yourself, and singing is really good at it. It really gets you there fast, and it alkalizes your body. You'll test your body, and it's more alkaline. So all these things happen when you're getting into flow state, so you're in the alpha and the theta, and that's that real, and you're feeling good. You're in that deeper place, and then every now and then you just feel more enlightened. It's like you just feel like that big yes, and that's when the pineal gland shoots out a little DMT, and you're in gamma state at that point, and the brain starts really firing up together, and that's when sports stars are throwing 3-pointers, over and over, and you're in this, amazing zone. I call it the miracle zone. And so the miracle zone naturally comes out of when you're in that alpha and theta, when you can rest in that place for a while. You can breathe in that place and just enjoy being in that state. And then every now and then, you're not in control of it, but when it happens, you get fired into that gamma, more enlightened state. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And you also have apparel that you talked about before we.
Oh, apparel, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
so those who want to get into Peace Walk, I'll be selling Peace Walk apparel. I'm wearing a shirt right now, Peace
Nice.
Walk. There we go. And the back says, I
Yeah.
walk with peace. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to have all colors for male, female, and tank tops too, and
Nice.
so yeah. So and then we're gonna have hats too. So here's my Peace Walk,
Oh, yeah.
hat. There we
Yeah.
go. You see? There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, yep, that's what's going on. So
Wow.
just come to my website. It's peace-walk.org. Yeah,
Peace-walk.org. Okay.
yeah,
And we'll make sure that's in the description down below.
yeah.
And I think you said you're eventually going to have this on an Etsy shop as well.
Yeah, yeah. So if you don't see it right away, come back just a few days later, and we'll have that Etsy link on there,
Okay.
so you
Great.
can buy anything you want. So
Yeah. And Joa, we talked earlier about perhaps letting you do a little bit of channeling.
yes,
And yeah, so do you want me to ask the questions when you're in a channeling state, or explain a little bit? Most of our viewers understand channeling, but I know some channelers need to get into that state first. Some close their eyes, some don't. How
I'm
do
going to let
you?
you just ask whatever questions you feel guided to ask. And
Okay,
so I will be bringing through Sananda or Jesus.
Jesus. Okay,
Haven't brought him through in a long time, and so it'll be fun. And he's really good with the big questions, the deeper big questions, and
nice.
so but you can ask whatever, and
Yeah,
and yeah, I'm just going to drop deeper into the states we talked about and then allow him to come through.
Beautiful.
So you ready?
I'm ready. Yes.
Okay, here we go. I am Sananda, and I have with me Lady Nada. We're here together with you. This is our surprise to JOA, that we come together. Yeah, and for those wanting to learn about channeling, the first step that happened was JOA was concerned about whether he could do this, which happens still almost every time. And then we came in and just loved him with those feelings of feeling uncertain, and so here we are. We're with you, and we just love you so much. And love is the reality of the universe. So that's what we start with, and we come together. My beloved is with me here, Nada, Lady Nada. The other name is Mary Magdalene, as she was here on Earth. And I'm Sananda. That's my name, my galactic name. But what's in a name? There's so much more to us than names. My mission, since I completed my time on Earth, is to become the planetary logos, which means I've wrapped my energy around the whole planet of Earth to do my best to ensure that we complete our mission, that all beings that came here will be able to go through their ascension as well as I went through mine. That's the goal of humanity, is that you will have your ascension. And I guarantee you, everyone here on this call, you will have your ascension. It's just a matter of time. And as you get committed on the spiritual path, you're accelerating that time for that to happen sooner than later. And you're such a gift right now. And you, my beloveds, are the second coming. Breathe that in. I invite you to say it to yourself. I am the second coming of Christ. Christ is an energy. It's what you really are. It's your authentic self. And I'm going to give you my formula for Christ consciousness, or the map. Let's say let's call it the map of Christ consciousness, how it works. And it is the cross. And what is the real meaning of the cross, or the underlining meaning of the cross? It is the marriage of the opposites. So it's the marriage of your authentic self, your higher self, which is your authentic self, and your human self. We're going to come back and talk more about that. And it's also the marriage of your masculine and feminine. And it's all happening right here in the heart. So that's what the real cross is. That's what I went through, this marriage of the opposites. And this marriage is about to happen for humanity more and more. And to leading up to that, we need to see the insanity of the division more than ever. And so you would really really desire that unity. And so, and we're coming to a peaking point in this year for that to happen. Towards the end of this year, humanity is going to be so humbled and overall, and this will be a beautiful thing to want to be so humbled into the heart. And this is what you're going to see happening with mass consciousness. And so, of course, there's going to be a lot of reaction, a lot of anger, a lot of other stuff, and that's a lot of purging happening. But we're all coming home to live in the heart, and because the planet has now already graduating, and it just cannot handle the old energy any longer, and so yeah. So, and I also want to say a little bit more about that marriage of the higher self, the authentic self that you are, your spiritual self. Think of it as a giant genie. See, your spirit is not in your body. Your body is in spirit. Your spirit is huge. Keep that in mind every day, that your self is huge. And then you call it in. You call it in to your body. You call it into your life. Every day you call it in. It's that simple, very simple. I now call forth all that I am into my body, into my mind, into my emotions. Call it in. And then you have these amazing days where you are transforming your human life and the human lives around you. So without knowing how it's going to happen, you give that up to spirit. And so what I want, the main thing I want to leave you here with is that there's the human here. You know, you maybe have physical issues, and your body's only going to last so long. And so what do you do about that? The word is and, A-N-D. So you let that be there. You love that human self. You love your human self, and you know you are the I am self. You are the higher self. So remember, you are the I am self, loving this body, this mind, these feelings. Love is what integrates, and the and. And what do you have when you spell and backwards? What are the letters of spelling and backwards?
DNA.
DNA. This is how you upgrade your DNA. It's the fastest path of integration is the and. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. They are both true. You suffer when you get attached to either side too long. So when you get attached to your suffering, your human suffering, and you forget that you are a spiritual being, already free, always free. So you also suffer when you get attached to this spiritual being and you ignore, you push down, you are judged, the human self. So it's the and that's the fastest path of integration. And on top of that, remembering you really are the spiritual being. And you are not the body, you're not the mind, you're not the emotions, but you own these things. You have these, and you must own them with love.
Beautiful. So one question I think that comes up from a lot of viewers is, can we go into a little bit more of what is ascension? I know some people, you'll hear them say, we're going from 3D to 4D or 3D to 5D. You'll have some people, thinking we're going to fly off the planet. Some people, everybody's got a little different scenario going on in their that. And of course, you even hear about the solar flash and so much more. So from a perspective of what is this thing, or maybe it's just a window that we're going through, it's not one thing. So please share more about the ascension.
Yeah, well, we are awakening to ourselves as galactic human beings. And actually we have access, as we awaken, we have access to 12 dimensions. And you think, oh my God, the 12 dimensions, how in the world would I ever get to 12th dimension? It's not like that. These energies, when you get into humor, when you're laughing, you're in the 12th dimension.
Mm.
You're in that level of freedom. So these dimensions are available, but we reside, where we reside mostly, has been in the 3 dimension, and that means also in the 3rd chakra, which is the power chakra. We've been all caught up in power, and physical power, material power, it's, money. How much money, and the 3rd chakra is very focused on sight, and it's the judging sight. We're judging each other by our bodies, the shape of our bodies, and how our status. That's all 3D stuff that causes a lot of suffering because we're not in our heart. So we're moving into the 4th dimension, which is the heart, of course, and that's where the healing happens. A lot of healing going on now, as we move in the 4th dimension, we find out, oh my God, there's so much trauma of all the times that people misuse their power with me, and I misuse my power. All that's in our face. So then we got to deal with that in the 4th dimension. We're facing all that, and a lot of people still get caught in the 4th dimension because you can really get caught in the drama of it all, caught in how upsetting it is, and who did what to who, and all that, and trying to heal it, and trying to get over the blame. It's like who did what, and we're going to talk more about that in a minute. That there's really no blame. We're going to explain that one in a minute, and then we're moving up into the 5th dimension, and as soon as we move into the 5th dimension, we realize that our powers in the now. The 4th dimension got us into a now, but we found that now was full of pain, because there's a lot of to be clean. There's a lot of clearing that needed to happen, but as we connect with the 5th dimension, we're realizing that I have a choice. Now the throat chakra is involved, and it's the realization that this is my life. This is my world. I'm choosing this. So I've been choosing this all along. So this is the 5th dimensional, and this is where humanity is meant to operate at the galactic human is meant to be operating in the 5th dimension, and our bodies will be adjusting to be able to handle that later on. And right now, humanity's getting into the 4th dimension, and so overall, and so our bodies are not even equipped to be in the 5th dimension yet, and it's questionable whether we can even have a body like the bodies we know of right now in the 5th dimension. But anyway, we still have access to many dimensions, and we're traveling through these different dimensions. A lot of times, not even knowing what we're doing. And dimensions are more and more expanded consciousness. So the higher dimensions still include the lower dimensions. So you don't really leave that dimension completely. So you embrace it all. So that's why those in the spirit world are seeing everything we're going through. They include us. But when you're in a lower dimension, you can't see the higher dimensions. They are become invisible. So they're all around us. These spirit guides are right with you, me and everyone, seeing us, but we're not seeing them because we're in a lower vibration. Yeah.
Right. Well, the other question I think that comes to mind is we're experiencing a lot of solar events that are going on. Solar activity, the Schumann resonance has been, the reading on that has gone up. It's spiked quite often. And I think some people are even experiencing things going on in their body. They're feeling things. They're getting ringing in their ears. Sometimes their sleep cycles are off. And all of that that's going on makes a person wonder, like, oh, is this part of the ascension? Is this something totally separate? Is this, affecting beyond just the human? Is it, Mother Gaia and if you can shed a little bit of light, no pun intended, but a little bit of light on that as well.
Yeah, so there's kind of overlapping between ascension symptoms and karma. So, and when I use the word karma, I really mean it not in a punishment way. A lot of people when they hear that word, oh, we're being punished, and but you are getting what you put out. Put out. So that's just the way it works. And so they really tend to mingle together, and because what's happening is the acceleration is so extreme now that it is pushing up, you know, the karmic patterns faster than ever. And you can still call them ascension symptoms because it's all for raising your vibration. But most of the time, it's also karmic as well. So it's the stuff you've been not quite complete with, and coming up to be dealt with. And so there's some spiritual bypass in the spiritual groups that they just call it ascension symptoms, and you have no responsibility about it. No, the way you're going through challenges has something to teach you in most situations. So I've had a lot of JOA has had a lot of learning with arthritis and how JOA created that, and so without punishing, without making it's just there's just learning.
Yeah.
We create our own suffering unconsciously. Yeah.
And I guess around that same topic, creating our own suffering, karma coming to the surface. When I look at the bigger stage of what's going on in the world.
Yeah. And I'll just jump in and say, and it particularly becomes ascension symptoms when you are keeping your focus on your I am, remembering that you are the freedom, you are the forgiveness.
Yeah.
And then you can truly say, yes, these are just ascension symptoms, and that's going to take you all the way through. And so instead of getting caught up in what's wrong, and that takes you down a spiral, and that's what our medical system is making so much money off of the people by getting you involved in what's wrong with you. So, and I want to say this to everyone on the call, no matter what you're going through, there is nothing wrong with you. Let that in. There is nothing wrong with you except the believing that there's something wrong with you. That's the issue. The issue is how you see the issue. And so what causes suffering is the spells that you bought into. And those are spells based on the idea that there's something wrong with you. And that takes you down the rabbit hole. And also, when you're only focusing on what's wrong with humanity, you're going down the same rabbit hole. Yeah. So we got to remember that the love and the light is infinite. And the media, have you ever noticed that you don't ever hear the word love in the media? Can you remember the last time you heard that word? So the media, 90% of it is negative. So really watch how much you're listening to the media. It doesn't matter which side. Just notice that when you're going into the negative, you're garbage in, garbage out. That's what happens. So right. That's why JOA is doing Peace Walk, and to get us outdoors, connecting to nature every day. Start the day off that way in the positive energy, saying hi to your neighbors, smiling, seeing the birds, the animals. Yes.
Nice. Well, that kind of answered my next question, so that's perfect. But leaning into like, okay, we got a lot of people that say, will there ever be a time when we have no more wars?
Yeah.
And besides the peace walk, what else can we do? Because everybody has that feeling, I want to do something about the situation. And so if you can maybe speak more on, are we going naturally to a destination where war will no longer exist? And in the
Yes, absolutely.
present moment, is there something that, the old feeling, little old me, how can I make a difference, right? So is there,
Yeah.
what can the individual listening uh, do?
Yeah. Well, Joa found his calling to do peace walk, and peace walk's a great thing to do for anyone who wants to do that. Fine, there's always a way, and but remember, it all starts with inner peace. So
Mm,
if you're out there fighting for something, that's not it. So, and this is where people don't get it. People are still asleep when they're fighting to have peace. Hello, it
okay.
doesn't work that way. So if you're taking sides, you're actually taking sides in your own brain.
Mm,
You're not coming from your whole self. So the other side has a gift for you. Even if you don't agree with this other person, um, by listening to them with compassion and attempting to understand where they're coming from and acknowledging their reality too, you're actually balancing your own brain.
mm,
It's one way to balance yourself, to live more in balance. And this also opens up the channels better than anything else of having a real communication. Because when you choose to understand another person, you open the door for them to
mm.
understand you. But nothing good comes out of an argument.
Yeah.
Joa gave up arguments years ago, except he had one just not too long ago. Very short, but he had one.
And thank you for sharing that too, because even myself, I mean, it's right. There's always those moments. Oh, I still have something to work on.
Yeah, yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, me too. So yeah.
And the
Well,
and remember the and when you get
and
hooked. And I'm human, and I'm really divine, and I just love it all. The and moves you into multidimensional consciousness.
yeah.
And. But whenever you're suffering, you go into a singularity consciousness. Oh, this is the only thing happening. You go into that only thing. That's the only thing, and that's a very contracted state. All I got to do is go into the and. That's true, and here I am. I'm breathing, and I have friends. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And I have Ron Frost as my friend.
Yeah.
Whatever. And and then you find yourself expanding, and you find whatever you're so upset about just starts dissolving. It's just on its own.
Yes. Nice, nice. Well said. Yeah. Well, Sananda and Lady Nada.
Lady Nada.
Yep. Anything else that you feel would be worthy to share with the audience today? And, that would be wise or wisdom that you could share.
Yeah, I just asked Lady Nada if she had anything to share. She said no, but she's just sending love to everyone here on the call, and that to feel her love, and
Mm,
and that's big. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
thank you.
So, and then if there's anything else from Sananda, just a minute. So when you get into a space of emptiness, we feel empty without, and maybe it's like looking like money, like without money. It's always really about love, and so go to the love. How do you go to love? You There's many ways, but one of my favorites is what Joa teaches: is every in breath you're breathing in the infinite love from above.
Mm,
You're breathing in the infinite love. And if you just imagine this, every breath and everything that you ever received in your life came in on your in breath. And so it's just remembering that and start practicing remembering every breath you're being given a gift. right now, right now, right now. Just keep practicing that and feeling that infinite love that's giving you everything you've ever wanted. It's everything it's taken care of. It changed all the diapers for you. It gave you all the meals that you needed you know, all the gifts you ever received came in on that in breath. So just practice that, receiving the love, relaxing your belly on the in breath, and letting yourself receive what's here now. And what happens is there's often a little delay effect. You don't feel it immediately, but eventually you will feel it. You'll feel this download of love, this gratitude. And then that's the energy that allows the next thing, whatever you're choosing, whatever you're needing, for it to come in. It's that simple. The infinite universe is always here, no matter what is going on with the economy. That's all just, the human stuff, the human spells. But really, we're in an infinite universe all the time, and you get to choose what your life is like by letting in the love. So be it.
So be it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Waiting for JOA to come back to the
Oh,
present.
I'm right here.
Okay, yeah. Well, I didn't know how long it would take, so I
Well, it
know.
took a long time for me to come down a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful. Well, I really appreciate the messages that were shared by Sananda, and I appreciate your time, today to be on the podcast and all that you shared. And yeah, so I mean, before we completely wrap this up, again, for people to be able to uh, find you, the website once again is
Peace-walk.org.
perfect. Okay, I will share that. Once we have the Etsy store link, we'll put that in there as well. And yeah, any final last thing you want to share, Joa?
Oh, I'm just so grateful. Just so grateful that we're able to do this talk and I'm able to do my calling and I invite everyone on the call to get into your calling, get into bringing heaven to earth because you are heaven and bring it to earth in your way. We all have a unique way of doing it. And the key is to keep following your highest excitement with no expectation of the outcome. And,
Yeah.
um, and so then that just keeps spiraling you up. When something doesn't get exciting any longer, you choose again, and you keep choosing and pivoting, and then you find out that your higher self was instigating everything perfectly to come together, your whole life the way you wanted it to go, and in a greater way than you could have planned. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Well, Joa White Eagle, thank you again for being on the show on Raising the Consciousness of Humanity. What you shared today was an absolute gift to the audience. Thank you.
Thank you.